They say it's better to cry inside a mansion than in a hut. But what happens when your mansion becomes your prison? When the man who once called you my angel now calls you a burden? When the only thing louder than your heartbeat is your sobbing at midnight? This is the story of Nneka, a woman from the heart of eastern Nigeria. A woman whose name once evoked pity, but today commands respect. Nneka was born in Bidi, a town surrounded by red earth roads and thick mango trees. She grew up in a family where hard work was stitched into every breath. Her mother fried akara at dawn, and Nneka, full of laughter and life, would help her sell by the roadside. Ben was the village sharp boy, slim, light-footed, and clever with his tongue. He could convince a man to sell his shadow if he wanted. They met during the village August meeting festival. Nneka was carrying palm wine on her head when she stumbled over a stray goat. Ben caught her firmly by the arm. "Fine girl, if you fall, the whole village go faint oh," he said, flashing a grin that could melt stone. She laughed, cheeks flushed. From that moment, they became inseparable. Walking barefoot to markets, sharing roasted yam under the shade of aqua trees, laughing deep into the evening as they talked about a future neither could afford. Ben had nothing but dreams. "Nneka, one day I go wear Italian shoe and drive car with AC way go blow like Christmas harmattan," he would boast. Nneka would hold her stomach laughing. "Oga Ben, leave AC first. Bring Gary come house before we talk about car." They married with nothing. No ring, no white dress. Just a pastor's prayer and a pot of soup shared by neighbors who contributed their chickens and palm oil. Life was hard. Ben hustled in Onitsha main market as an apprentice, carrying loads on his head till his neck darkened under the sun. Nneka hawked akpa at the busy motor parks with their first baby strapped tightly to her back. She would rise by 4:30 a.m., light a tiny oil lamp, and kneel in the corner of their single-room apartment. "Jehovah, bless the works of my hands. Lift my husband. Make our story sweet," she prayed, her voice soft but steady. She would pound yam with sweat dripping down her face. Then at night, soak Ben's aching feet in hot water, massaging them with balm. "My husband, your suffering go soon end. Our story no fit finish inside poverty," she would whisper. They slept on a mattress on the floor, fighting mosquitoes and hunger, but holding on to their shared dreams. Then, like lightning striking dry grass, Ben's luck changed. His master trusted him with a large cash deal. Ben delivered without fault, and from that moment, the doors to wealth flung open. He moved from carrying loads to moving containers, from shouting in the market to signing deals in air-conditioned offices. Suddenly, their lives turned around. They moved into a bungalow with a generator that roared like a lion in the night. Their sitting room smelled of fresh paint and imported rugs. Plasma TV stood proud in the center. Ben bought a Toyota Hilux and started wearing sunglasses even indoors. But as the money came, love began to slip away like sand through fingers. Nneka's once loving husband now called her local woman. "You know day fit this house. See the kind wrapper you day wear inside marble house. Dress like woman way sabi this life." Ben spat, his voice sharp like broken glass. He began traveling for business more often. He stayed in hotels, posting pictures on Facebook and Instagram with young girls laughing by his side, their faces powdered and their wigs long enough to sweep the floor. Nneka's heart began to tear in quiet places. One evening, she gathered courage and asked, "Ben, who is that woman I heard about?" His slap landed faster than thunder, sending her crashing to the tiled floor. "The day you ask me that kind question again, you go leave this house naked," he warned, his eyes cold and unfamiliar. Soon, Ben stopped pretending. He brought women home boldly, daring anyone to challenge him. One rainy night, while the sky roared and lightning flashed through the window, Ben stormed into the house, dragging a girl who looked young enough to be his daughter. "Today you go see say I get mined," Ben shouted. He pushed Nneka aside and led the girl into their bedroom. "Shift old cargo," the girl said, smirking as she passed Nneka. Nneka sat on the cold kitchen floor, her hands trembling, her breath shallow. She listened to their laughter through the walls as the rain poured harder. Her tears blended with the leaking water from the roof, soaking her wrapper as she rocked herself to sleep beside the gas cylinder. By morning, she had made her decision. She stood in front of the cracked mirror, looking at her swollen face, and whispered, "Enough!" She folded her old wrapper, packed 2 blouses, her Bible, and the rosary her late father left her. She placed them inside a worn-out Gonna-Must-Go bag. Without a word to anyone, she walked out of the house, barefoot, her dignity packed tightly inside her heart. The world outside wasn't gentle. She found a small room behind a mechanic's workshop. The walls smelled of oil and iron, and the floor was rough cement. She took her last N15,000 and bought plantain, fish, pepper, and firewood. She set up a roadside grill under a mango tree. Her first customer arrived. "Madam, your fish get pepper?" he asked, teasing. She grinned, sweat glistening on her forehead. "My brother, this fish day cure heartbreak, malaria, and poverty. Try 'em." He laughed, bought more than he planned, and spread the word. Her business grew. Soon, office workers began stopping by during lunch breaks. "Madam Nneka, your plantain sweet pass honey-o." From plantain and fish, she moved to cooking pots of jollof rice for meetings. A woman from a catering company took notice. "Madam, can you cook for a wedding?" "If I cook for your guests, dem go lick plate finish," she joked. That job became the turning point. Her food was praised across the town. From wedding to burial, from burial to church conventions, Nneka became a name. She saved every naira. 2 years later, she opened her first restaurant, Nneka Kitchen Global. Her dishes were featured on local radio. She bought her own plot of land, built her own house, and paid for it in cash. She bought herself an SUV, her first car. She would sit in the driver's seat, softly humming to herself, her face glowing with quiet pride. And then, Ben came crawling back, broke, sick, deserted by the same girls who once called him chairman. He stood outside her restaurant one afternoon, his slippers worn out, his clothes faded. "Nneka, please, help me," he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. Nneka looked at him, not with hatred, but with pity. She said nothing. She simply walked back inside, shutting the door gently. Later that year, at the Women's Empowerment Summit, Nneka was invited to speak. She walked onto the stage in her flowing lace gown, coral beads glowing around her neck, her head held high. The hall fell silent. Ben sat in the back row, head bowed, trying to hide his face. Nneka's voice rang clear. "They called me worthless. They said I would die begging. They said without a man, I was nothing." She paused, her eyes scanning the crowd. "But I stand here today to tell every woman, nobody can write your story for you. You hold the pen. Even in your tears, your hands are still powerful enough to build." The hall erupted in applause. Nneka smiled softly, tears glistening in her eyes. "Do not let betrayal break you," she said. "Let it build you." Her words sank deep into every heart present. Ben remained seated at the back, weeping silently, drowning in regret. Nneka never looked his way. She left the stage with her head held high, her dignity intact, her heart at peace. And from that day on, Nneka's name became a song of hope across the town. They no longer called her the woman Ben left. They called her Nneka the Conqueror, and her story traveled far and wide, reminding women everywhere that the sun will always rise after the longest night. To every woman watching this, let Nneka's story remind you that no betrayal, no abandonment, and no heartbreak has the power to stop your destiny. You are stronger than your pain. If the story touched you, don't just keep it to yourself. Click the subscribe button, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your story is not over yet. Tomorrow may just surprise you.